Let us talk on assessed available bid capacity in case of tenders or the bids. It is called assessed capacity, bid capacity, because it is assessed for the tendering limit of the contractor. Available bid capacity means it should be available with the contractor whatever value it is coming. Bid capacity, as you know, it means that the capacity of the bidder for bidding the uh, tender or the bid. So this is called assessed available bid capacity, but many times it is also called bid capacity of the tenderer. Now, what is the purpose of this? Purpose basically for the employer, it is to assess the capacity, bid capacity of a contractor, uh, to find out whether he is capable to take up the work for which tenders have been invited, and particularly based on his financial capacity, and also to see whether he has already got a lot of works, because of that whether he will be able to take up additional work or he will not be able to take additional work, because he has ongoing works, and maybe that he has the commitments to do additional works. So this is the purpose of the bid capacity. So basically, what we have discussed is that bid capacity means it is related to the financial capacity, financial capacity of the bidder. And why financial capacity? Because it is being assumed that a contractor having additional financial resources or adequate financial resources can also control physical progress. So basically, there will be a relation to financial capacity with physical progress. So that's why these two are interrelated. This is assumed. I'm not saying, or I'm not discussing whether this is true or not, but basically in bid capacity assessment, we are assessing only financial capacity of the bidder. Briefly, if we say, then it means it depends, or bid capacity depends on financial turnover of the bidder. So naturally, it is to be taken for the past years, and then number of years we consider for which the work is to be in which work is to be completed, for which tenders or bids have been invited. So that is present contract for which we suppose employer is inviting the bids. So that rule time is to be taken. So that depends on that. Assessed available bid capacity depends on the number of years. And then existing commitment and committed works. So existing commitment means whatever works he is doing, and so still suppose some works have been done partly, then balance works are to be completed by the bidder. So that is existing commitment. And committed works are, suppose the bidder has already quoted for some other works, and he is likely to be awarded that work because he is the lowest or whatever it is. So that is the committed work that he is already committed that he will be doing. So that is committed work. So basically, bid capacity, we will say bid capacity now is. So the bid capacity will depend on financial turnover of the bidder, then number of years in which the work is to be completed, for which tenders have been invited, existing commitments, and committed works. Now, the formulae generally may vary from tender to tender or from organization to organization. But generalized formula is that bid capacity is equal to some coefficient multiplied by A. Suppose A is financial turnover, then multiplied by A, multiplied by N. So N, if it is number of years in which work is to be completed, and then minus B. B means commitment or ongoing works for which he is already doing the works. So that is B. So basically now this is bit capacity is equal to, if we say that coefficient is C, then C A N minus B. So this is generalized formula, but you will see that in this one C is something which is to defined by the employer or by the engineer in the tender documents. That is important for the employer. Now C varies from organization to organization. Normally in our country, in India, it has been seen that it is considered 2, its value is considered 2. So in general you will see that in many contracts the formula of bit capacity is 2 multiplied by A multiplied by N minus B. However, it is seen that this coefficient may vary generally from 1.5 to 2.5. So in some tender document it may be 1.5 multiplied by A multiplied by N minus B. In some 2 multiplied by A multiplied by N minus B, and in some it may be 2.5 multiplied by A multiplied by N minus B. But generally it is 3 values are considered for this coefficient, that is 1.5, 2 and 2.5. Now let us talk about the financial turnover. Now for both employer and the contractor it is important because actually it is to be seen what is written in the tender document. One is that financial turnover, we know that it may vary from year to year. So if it is written average, then it is to be averaged for the years which have been prescribed in the tender document. Suppose for last 3 years are prescribed, then it means that 3 years that average of last 3 years is to be taken. If it is prescribed for 5 years, then average of 5 years is to be taken. But in some documents and some organization do not consider average, but they prescribe as maximum financial turnover. So in that case, the maximum value of the years prescribed is to be taken as A. So it is to be decided by the employer or engineer when they are calling the tenders, what is to be written or what is to be prescribed. So basically the idea is that you feel that a contractor who has done the works of some amount, he can then do later also with that value. That's why they prefer to keep it maximum, or in some cases they keep it average, because they say that it is safer, it is good to take average, because he will be able to do that. Whatever it is, so whatever is written in the tender document, that is final. So it may be average or maximum. So this is to be seen by the contractor while quoting the rates. And then generally it is also to be seen whether average is to be taken of or maximum is to be taken of 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, whatever is mentioned. But in generally it is seen that either it is 3 or 5 years it is taken. Now, some organization also consider the inflation or cost enhancement rate, and they give fixed weightage for the previous years. So that then that updation is to be done. Suppose the updation of 10% is given by the employer and it is written in the tender document, then it means for last 1 year updation, suppose X value is there, then value of A will be considered as 1.1 A. So that is to be seen in the tender document by the contractor, and also it is to be prescribed by the employer when they are preparing the tender document, because it will depend accordingly. So basically it's annual financial turnover, and also we are to see whether it is to be updated or not. So in few cases it is suppose it is written that it will be directly taken, then it is not to be updated. Now n, we have already discussed that n is the number of years in which the work is to be completed, or work means which for which we have invited the tenders. So these few organizations, they suppose they say that it is to be work is to be done in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and so on. So that is a round figure. But few organizations also consider if it is less than one, suppose 8 months or 6 months or whatever it is, then they say that n value will be taken as one. But suppose it is not written, and if it is mentioned by the employer that n is the number of years in which the work is to be completed, and they have not written that the value will be rounded off to 1, in that case it will be considered as suppose for 6 months it will be considered as half, or 1 by 2, or in case of 8 months it will be 8 by 12 years. So this is again to be mentioned clearly by the employer, and also it is to be seen by the contractor. Accordingly, he is to work out the bid capacity. So basically, as I have told, that this should be clearly defined that if it is less than 1 year, then how it is to be considered. Now B, we have discussed that B means the commitments or on which include ongoing works, that is existing commitments, and also the commitments which are going to come in future, for which tenders have been submitted by the tenderer, possibly getting matured, so likely to be awarded basically. Now this is important particularly for both, for the employer and the contractor, because employer will consider all the ongoing works or balance works and also the commitments. It means this B is in negative. B, the value of B is to be subtracted from the capacity, from 2A, and that is positive figures. So it means that if a contractor has large number of commitments, then this value, so overall bid capacity will be reduced once we subtract B component. So it is important for employer as well as to the contractor. Now the contractor, sometimes what happens, suppose he has not given all the commitments which he has, then some other contractor who is his competitor, he may raise the objection, and in that case then the tender may have problems, because that may finally that may lead to misrepresentation of facts. So it is important for the contractor that he should mention all the ongoing commitments, and also the commitment possibly which are going to mature or likely to be awarded. So this B is to be given, and this is important because bid capacity for the employer, because bid capacity means he can't take up many works for which he is not having adequate resources, because this component will be subtracted from the positive component. Now eligibility criteria is uniform in all the cases. So this bid capacity, or assessed available bid capacity, this has to be more than the estimate cost put to tender. That is the generally the eligibility criteria of the contractor mentioned in the tender documents. So in that case, for the bid capacity, so important is basically this n is very important, because you see that if we consider lower value, then the bid capacity will be lower, because suppose we have considered 1.5, then value will be reduced. And you see, if 1.5 means that whatever works a contractor has done in the past, so you are multiplying it by 1.5, so or 2, it means if we are multiplying by 2, then suddenly this increases. So this factor is very important, and suppose n value is less than 1, then also this value gets reduced. So if it is rounded off to 1, then value will be more. and B is the only the commitments. Uh, so basically, so the formula which is to be prescribed by the employer is important, because the coefficient will change the formula, and but it has to be mentioned in the tender documents, and once it is mentioned, that is final. If n is less, the bid capacity also reduces drastically, as we have already discussed. And if it is considered as actual, suppose work is to be done in 6 months or 4 months or 8 months, then it will be changing substantially. And if we round it off to one year, if we are considering 1 year, then it will be same. So this is to be mentioned clearly when n value is less than 1 year. That is important. And if a contractor has many commitments, then his bid capacity is going to reduce. So that is the idea basically, that a contractor, if he had many works, then because of the resources, he will not be able to complete the work or take up the work, because it is called that the works are beyond his capacity. So finally, it is basically an IT approving authority or tender approving authority, who is to fix this formula, and he is to mention clearly in the tender document about the A value, whether it is to be averaged or it is to be taken as maximum value for the annual financial turnover, and of how many years, and also then whether the last year values will be updated to cost inflation or not. And then the value of n also is to be mentioned clearly. If it is not rounded off, suppose it is less than 1, say 8 months or 6 months, and he is to mention whether n value will be taken as actual, or it will be rounded off to 1. So this is to be mentioned clearly. And for the contractor, I think my recommendations are there, that he should clearly mention all the commitments. That is important, because otherwise it may take unnecessary legal battle between him and other contractors, because if all the commitments have not been represented in the tender document. Thanks. I am KM Soni, retired ADG CPW. Thanks a lot.